Kakalosh Boker Tov. I was asked to speak about this halakha, so we're just going to mention a very important halakha. We know that Shulchan Aruch brings down in Siman Samech Sif Daled that mitzvot sichot kavanah. What does it mean, mitzvot sichot kavanah? Every single time that you do a mitzvah, you have to have kavanah what you are doing. And especially with a doraita, you have to have that in mind. With Rabbanan, it's already different halachot. Now, we're asked, what's the difference between what we call Birkat Cohanim and between Aliyat Cohen when he goes up to the Sefer Torah? So we'll explain. Birkat Cohanim we know is a mitzvah taseh doraita. What does that mean? It's a mitzvah taseh doraita. It's a mitzvah taseh doraita for the Cohen to come and to bless all of Am Yisrael. This mitzvah, if they actually do not do the mitzvah, they are mevatel mitzvah taseh doraita, which means that they have a biblical commandment to come to bless the congregation, and if they don't do it and they choose not to do it, they are being mevatel a mitzvah taseh doraita. And therefore, if they come to the synagogue and then they decide, you know what, I just don't want to do it, so then they are being mevatel a mitzvah taseh doraita. When they come up to bless the kahal, they have to have in mind that they are doing a mitzvah taseh doraita. The same halacha applies. The Charedim is brought down in the first biur halacha in Birkat Cohanim. Says the first biur halacha, the same mitzvah, there's also going to be a mitzvah taseh doraita for us to be mitbarech me'a Kohanim. What does it mean to be mitbarech me'a Kohanim? Not only do the Kohanim have a beracha or a mitzvah taseh doraita to bless us, we have a mitzvah taseh doraita to receive the blessing from the Kohanim. That is actually what's brought down in the halacha. And therefore, when they come up to do this, they actually have to have in mind they are fulfilling a mitzvah taseh doraita, not the Rabbanans, not anything else. They're doing a mitzvah taseh doraita to come and to bless all of Am Yisrael. We know that there's a concept of Cohen, Levi, and Israel that they get Aliyot la Torah. Where does this exactly come from? So this is based upon a Mishnah in Gitin, Daf Nun Tet Amud Aleph, and the reason why was because of Darkei Shalom. What does it mean because of Darkei Shalom? Very simple. Imagine right now you come to a synagogue and we didn't have a concept of Cohen, Levi, and Israel. So what happens? I want to get the first aliyah, like anybody else. Why? I'm the most important. So I'm going to come, I want it. And then the other guy comes and he says, no, I'm more important than him. I've got a few more zeros in the bank. And the third person comes and he says, no. It goes age before beauty. I'm elderly. I go first. The other person continues. He goes, no. But I'm wiser. I'm a professor and a doctor and I don't know what. I go first. And you continue going. So what happens? Because of Darkei Shalom, because of peace, in order that there's no fighting, what do? They instituted that first you have a Cohen, then you have a Levi, and then you have a Israel. Why are you doing so? Very simple. We do have a mitzvah taseh doraita of v'kidashto. V'kidashto means that we come and we sanctify the Cohen. And therefore we give him, whether it's going to be the first in certain things. Now there are obviously exceptions to the rules, if the Kohanim are not doing proper things, and so on and so forth, so then you don't have to be mechabed otam. But fine. But because of Darkei Shalom, we come and we give the Cohen first. Now, interestingly enough, pay attention. Certain halachot were annulled because we nowadays, we're not certain who's a Cohen. We all know the famous story with Rav Hai Gaon, that he knew the Mashiach was going to come if he took 300 Kohanim around Har HaZitim. And he went around and he was certain, that's it, we're going to bring the Mashiach. And also he met Eliyahu Navi. And he says, no, so that's it, you're ready to come. He says, no, you have here 300 Kohanim and there's only one Cohen. He says, what are you talking about? He says, yeah, there's only one Cohen and he's the crippled, the guy in the back walking with a cane. Right? Which means that if the Bet HaMikdash would be built, he wouldn't even be able to do so. So now, listen to what's going on. In a lot of halachot, we actually come and we don't give things to the Cohen whenever it's going to be monetary. So for example, a Cohen is supposed to get challah, right? Your wives just do a frashat challah. What really should that go to? It should go to the Cohen. Tumot ma'asrot. Right? Nowadays, what do? You separate it, you throw it in, you double bag it, you wrap it, you throw it in the garbage. I'm a Cohen. Give it to me. No. Prove that you're a Cohen. Until you do not prove that you're a Cohen, I don't have to give it to you. Now, here, even though on those halachot which were monetary, we come and we annulled it because whoever said you're Cohen, and by the way, we still use this concept of maybe you're not a Cohen. We do use it certain times in B'diavad, when, for example, if it does happen that a Cohen went and he was going to go out and he didn't realize, and he went out with a girl that she was actually the daughter of a ger. And there's a whole bunch of different things. That's one of the sfek. One of the things in order to permit is, maybe he's not a Cohen. How do we know even that he's a Cohen? So fine. So anything to do with the monetary, we took away because you proved to me that I'm a Cohen, I'm going to give it to you. Here, because of Darkei Shalom, it wouldn't help us. Because if we're going to come and take away from a Cohen and say, who told you you're a Cohen? So then, again, you go back to the fights. And if you're going to go back to the fight, so you're not going to come and say, you know what, whoever said you're a Cohen. No. We still left the concept that we give Cohen, Levi, Israel, in order to avoid any conflict in the synagogues of what? Of having this, who's going first. Now, there is a concept. What happens if you have a Talmid Chacham? And you have a big rabbi? So, who goes first? So it's actually brought down that even though the minhag is that you do still call the Cohanim, because then you're going to start measuring what's called the big rabbi, what's not called the big rabbi. But there were many places where they had the minhag, they would call the Chacham instead of the Cohen. Why? Even though we know that the Cohen comes first in normal circumstances, the Chokhmah, right, the Chokhmah comes, the Torah comes before the Kiuna. What's the proof? We have a Mamzer that's a Talmid Chacham. A Talmid Chacham, he could be a Mamzer. He comes before the Kohen HaMa'aretz to do with, for example, Birkat Hamazon. Who's going to lead the Zimun? It's not the Kohen. It's going to be the Mamzer Talmid Chacham. And there's going to be many cases like that. So therefore, it is actually brought down in the Halakha that you will find scenarios where a Talmid Chacham will be before the Kiuna. Now we go back to another question. Is a Kohen allowed to be Mochel al Kvodo? What does that mean, Mochel al Kvodo? Can a Kohen come and he say, you know what? I have this kavod, but I don't really need it. Right? Why? I'm getting every single aliyah anyway until now. And now I'm going to come and I'm going to give it out. So there's a very famous case because I still wasn't able to get the Sefarim. There's the Khatam Sofer, Shut Divrei Chaim, and others that I'm still waiting for their quotes. However, though, it is actually brought down in the Halakha, there were many different things of minhagim. One minhag was, for example, Shabbat Bereshit. Shabbat Bereshit, they used to come and they used to sell what we call the Aliyah of Shabbat of Chatan Torah. They used to come and they used to sell it for a lot of money. And when they used to sell it for a lot of money, the one that got the Shabbat Chatan on Simchat Torah, they used to get Aliyat Rishon on Shabbat Bereshit. So the question was, is that permitted or not? Because here you're not giving it to a Talmid Chacham, and number two, you're giving it to Cohen. Another question arises is that okay, fine, let's say you're even going to give it now to the Israel, that he was the one that bought it with the most money, and now he's the one going up for Simchat Torah, Shabbat Chatan, Shabbat Bereshit, like Chatan Bereshit, and now he's going to go up also for Bereshit, right? Does the Cohen have to actually go out or not? So it's actually brought down in the Halakha that in the places where they had this minhag, and that was a minhag across all, the Kaf HaChaim brings down the minhag, that was our minhag even here until today, that is our minhag. What happens is, or there was another minhag that the rabbi would get, the Aliyat Rishon on Shavuot. It was like the first Aliyah on Shavuot. There are many different minhagim. In such a scenario, they're allowed to get the Aliyah because the Kohanim are Mochel al Kvodam. And even if a Kohen will come afterwards and say, you know what, no, I'm not Mochel al Kvodo, there was already a minhag instituted, and therefore what happens is that he doesn't even have to go out of the synagogue, really, because it's already known. Now, again, it still is better to leave the synagogue before the beginning of the Kriyat Torah, but Meikar Adin, they do not have to leave. Another case was going to be, and this is actually Rav Ovadia Mefurash, what happens if you have two semachot or two nachalot? What does that mean? You have two semachot, you've got two bar mitzvah boys, or you're going to come and you're going to have two nachalot. Says Rav Ovadia Yosef, you have a technical issue. Mondays and Thursdays, you can't do a mosif. The Ashkenazim, they actually do bring down, the Ramah brings down, you can do a mosif. We don't hold of that. You cannot do a mosif on Monday and Thursday. So there's only Cohen, Levi, Israel. Now you have two bar mitzvahs, or you're going to have two nachalot. So now the question is, what are you going to do? I'm saying you can't, what are you supposed to do? So says Rav Ovadia Yosef, you're allowed to ask the Cohen to leave, and if he doesn't leave, he doesn't need to leave. You call up the two semachot, or you call up the two nachalot. Now to do with the entire concept of what is considered, right, these things of semachot or nachalot, I do want to mention a very important halakha. There's a lot of things which are considered minhag. I'll give you an example of a minhag. Bar mitzvah boy, does he usually read the Haftarah? Yes? Okay, he reads the Haftarah. Who comes first? A bar mitzvah boy that reads the Haftarah or a Nachala? Because he prepared. So the halacha is Nachala. That's halacha. Lema'aseh. What is lema'aseh? The bar mitzvah. Why? Because since there was a minhag that you come and you always give the bar mitzvah boy, that he comes and he prepares the parasha and he prepares his haftarah, even though mitzad halacha, again one more time, mitzad halacha, nachala takes precedence. But the minhag is that you don't do that. What do you give it? You give it to, right, the bar mitzvah boy, and so on and so forth. Why? Because you will see that many times there's differences, right, in a minhag ha'olam and not. In certain sects of Judaism, but the Hebrew birthday is Kodesh Kadashim, right? For them, it'll even come before Nachalot. For us, Hebrew birthdays doesn't even start. If you don't have any other thing, we're going to use the excuse, yeah, it's a birthday. But really, be'emet, in halacha, when it's brought down, it's not even there. Birthdays are not there. But in that sect of Judaism, if that's their minhag, so fine. So for them, that became their minhag. So therefore, it's very important to know this, because sometimes it happens that even Nachalot, that they are doing, for example, they have a Nachala of a grandfather, and whether it's their father already passed away, or whether it was that they come from a mother, there's nobody saying Kaddish for them, they are the ones that are saying Kaddish for them, so that is considered a Nachala. We don't get into whether it's going to be, this is Nachala of a man, or a woman, or this. If the minhag is that is considered a Nachala, and you would give him an Aliyah, so therefore what happens is that you would do this. So now again, the Cohanim, to force them out, right, you're never going to force them out. You ask them very nicely, or if they understand already the inyan, they will leave already on their own. However, though, it's not going to be that you're going to come, right, and you're going to do this on a fixed basis. What does that mean on a fixed basis? There was a minhag in certain Ashkenaz places where every single Monday, Thursday, Shabbat Mincha, every single time they come, and they would basically even ignore the Cohanim. And they would always give it to other people instead of the Cohanim. There, that's something different. Now, they used to do it many times. They wanted to be mechabed, the orchim, the people that are coming from the outside, and therefore they would come and they would say, you know what, it's not apropos, so therefore they didn't want to do so. However, though, I will finish off, right, with something that there was, Rav Arieli, he came and he said as follows. He says, the question was, and that we saw mefurash in Rav Ovadia, was to do with shteb, we're talking about whether it's bar mitzvos or bar mitzvot or brit milaz or simachot, right? You had two different simachot or two different nachalot. The question that was asked was, what happens if the reason why is not because of bar mitzvahs, right, or nachalot, but rather we want to give a chance to everyone to go up to the Torah. Why? Because if you think about it, if there's no Leviim and there's only 2 Cohanim or 3 Cohanim, and this Cohen already went up on Shabbat, and he went up Shabbat Mincha, and then he goes up also on Monday, and also on Thursday, you have a lot of people that they don't even go up once a month. And there is an inyan to go up once a month, as is brought down in the poskim, whether the Ben Ish Chai brings it down, and all the Sfarim, the Sifrei HaKodesh, they come and they bring it down. So what exactly are you going to do in such a scenario? Is it permitted? So he comes and he says, it is exact same halacha, that basically what's happening is again, you're not going to force out. If a Cohen comes and he says, I don't want to go out, it's fine. He's not going to go out. But if right now the Cohen is going to have, for sure he could be mochel al kvodo. But being mochel al kvodo, he's not being vatel mitzvah sedoraita, the opposite. When he's not going to do Birkat Cohanim, he's annulling a mitzvah min Torah. If he's not going up to the Torah, he's being mochel al kvodo. You're allowed to be mochel al kvodo. Everybody could be mochel al kvodo except for a melech. A melech cannot be mochel al kvodo. However, though, right, a Cohen can be mochel al kvodo. So therefore he comes and he says, so therefore it's going to become permitted. I will finish off just by mentioning a very important yesod. Remember that the Kohanim come from Aharon. The midah of Aharon is Ohev Shalom Verodef Shalom, which means somebody once came and he told me, I don't understand. If right now the Kohen came and he was asked to politely leave, right, because of Nachalot or whatever it is, and he's going to come and make a fight over it, he says, I don't understand. The entire concept of Aharon HaKohen was Ohev Shalom Verodef Shalom. We stay away from everything of Machlokah. We never make fights, we never get into quarrels, we never make arguments. And now what? I'm going to come and I'm going to say that? How could it be? The opposite. I'm going to take the attribute of Aaron HaKohen and I'm not going to make a fight. The opposite. B'chavod. I'm doing chesed. And therefore, for sure, there shouldn't be any problem whatsoever. Again, we're not talking about on every single Monday and Thursday, But if it does arouse, it's a complete different halacha, what it is, Birkat Cohanim, than again what it is, Aliyat Cohen in the Sefer Torah. There is also much more room to be Mekel on a Monday and Thursday than to be Mekel on a Shabbat. Now, even on a Shabbat, if they're going to go out, there's no problem. But again, there's also many differences in the halacha, and therefore this is just the again, a regal achat. Obviously, there's a lot more what to talk about, but just to understand where the halacha come from.